Hey everyone, it's Andrew from Auto Off Topic. We are redoing the coloring contest. It is now new and improved thanks to our listener, Frank Eck. He has gone out of his way to secure some awesome sponsors and some really cool prizes. So we're going to use the same coloring book that is located, pinned to the top of our Facebook page. And that's... I'm not going to read the URL because it's easier just to go to our Facebook page. You can like it and you can see it right on top. So it's Auto Off Topic Podcast on Facebook.com. So you can complete one page in any of three mediums. And those are electronic, using like Photoshop, paint type programs, colored pencil, marker, and or crayon, with one entry being counted per medium per person. So each individual can have a total of 3 entries. There will also be 2 age groups, age 15 and below, and 16 on up. Electronic entries, including scanned entries, can be sent to autoofftopicpodcast@gmail.com. Paper copies can be sent by snail mail to Auto Off Topic Podcast Contest, and that's P.O. Box 35, Georgetown, Mass. 01833. And please note, all hard copies will not be returned. So the contest is going to run through November 30th so that we can get the prizes out by Christmas. And as the contest continues, more prizes will be added. Updates will be able to be seen here at the contest Facebook page, which will be facebook.com/AOTP Contest 2017. And I believe we have also reposted that to our Facebook page. So let me run down some of the awesome sponsors we have right now. We have Mitsubishi Motors USA. Amazing. Adventure Driven Design. Northeast Mitsubishi 4x4. Mitsubishi Montero's Owners Group USA. Florida Mitsubishi 4x4. Mitsu Nation on Facebook. Force Performance. And Palladian Trucks. So all of these sponsors have donated some cool stuff like t-shirts, stickers, plate frames, lanyards, all neat little sort of grab bag type prizes. Nothing too big, but all really, really cool stuff. Things that, you know, you like to stick stickers on your toolbox, on your truck, on your car. You know, it's cool to have I always like to have lanyards, all that kind of stuff. T-shirts are always great. You got to show off your Mitsubishi pride. So you should definitely check out those Facebook groups. Check out those vendors like Adventure Driven Design and Force Performance and Palladian Trucks. And absolutely support Mitsubishi Motors USA because we'd like them to keep building cars here in the U.S. or selling cars and providing parts for us because we really obviously like their vehicles. Anyway, on to the show.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, I think the Volvo had it. I think there's pictures of it with that.
The orange wagon?
No, the silver one.
The silver coupe?
It had to be the silver one.
But then,
what'd you trade in for the Blazer?
I bought the Blazer without a trade-in.
Oh.
That was 89. Oh, so there's some gap in between there because when did you sell the 88?
So the car in 89 could have come out in 88.
I think so.
Yeah. I remember going to the dealership for that.
Anyway.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, welcome to episode 34 of Auto Off Topic. I'm your host, Andrew.
And I'm your other host, Brad.
And we've got a special guest tonight. We've got my dad, Anthony.
Why do we have your dad as guest tonight?
Because it's last week was Father's Day, so we're going to do a Father's Day episode. This is part 1.
Yes. And if Andrew's dad is here for part 1,
yeah,
we're going to leave it up to the audience to, decide who part 2 might be.
Yes.
I think most people will get that.
Yep.
So, Tony, how you doing today?
Great. It's nice to be here in the Auto Off Topic podcast studio.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Otherwise known as your son's basement.
Yes.
Oh, well, I wasn't going to give that away.
Everybody knows. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
All right.
We're amateurly professional.
Yep.
So you may You can vote also if you want to have me back.
Nope, can't do that.
No.
That's ultimately up to us. This is definitely a dictatorship. So,
Okay.
unless Tony wants to make his own poll where he can put it up and say, "Hey, do you guys want to have me back or not?" But we will not host that.
I'm sure people will like it.
More than likely, you'll be back. Maybe even before next Father's Day if you're lucky.
I hope so.
So, we're going to skip some of the regular stuff we do, so we're going to take up too much time.
A couple of things because we're talking to Tony.
Yep. But I guess, I don't know, we can get right into it, right?
Well, we can give our introductions as to who Tony is to us. Tony is obviously your father.
Yes.
So you were born into knowing him.
Yep.
Andrew, for those who don't know, grew up across the street from me. So I was also pretty much born into knowing Tony because my parents owned the house across the street from him. And if it wasn't for Tony, we wouldn't have the clunk buckets that we have today.
No.
Not that he inspired our taste in clunk buckets, but he has enabled us to keep them running by offering his incredible mechanical services and garage.
Yes.
And his usually enthusiastic response to help in working on them. So sometimes not so enthusiastic, but usually enthusiastic response to helping work on them.
Yep.
So he's definitely encouraged our bad habits of old cars. Otherwise, maybe we would have to drive reliable new Corollas.
That's right.
So that is Tony. He is special to us for those reasons, and he's genuinely a nice guy.
Yes.
So as dads go, he's like dad number 2 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys go back a long way. I can remember one of the things that sticks out in my mind is when I built a garage, and I had it was just a foundation basically sticking up out of the ground, about 12 inches, and then they poured the concrete floor in the morning, and that evening, Brad and Andrew were out there racing their RC cars all over the floor in the garage.
It was an awesome, huge, smooth surface.
Yeah, I was like, wow, pretty expensive track for their cars, but that's all right. You know, that's what it was all about, and it's grown into other things now. You know, with the cars coming in.
It definitely started before then, but that was definitely I remember that day very well actually, because I think that they were they Kyosho Minizis.
No, they're 1/10 scale Tamayas.
We're into the Kyosho Minizis yet. Probably not. It was before that. No, they're the front wheel drive Tamaya.
The
cars.
FF02s.
Yep, FF01s, weren't they?
No, they're O2s.
O2s.
Yeah.
Either way, they're early ones. Mine was the Toyota something.
Yeah.
Toyota Carina racing sedan, and you had a Volvo probably.
Uh-huh.
So
Is your phone near the mic cord?
it is because it's charging. Is it buzzing? Oh, it's probably gonna die, but I'll unplug it. I'll take one for the team here. Sorry about that.
It's all right. No, it was I had the Tamaya, the 850.
Yeah, I remember that because the floor was poured, and the concrete foundation around the floor was poured, and so it was really cool because the surface was super smooth. But if you screwed up, that was a pretty big wall to hit at a pretty high rate of speed, and
Yep.
the cars would definitely break. So that was definitely a fun time.
Yeah, it was a big area though. It was 32 by 40 too. So
And then you would, put a roof on it and put cars in it and tools, and now we can't do that anymore.
right.
No, just fix cars.
Yeah, now you got big cars in there,
That's true. That's true.
graduated up.
Although currently, for one of the first times ever, nothing I own is in there.
Yeah.
Usually one of my old crap cans is in there. Thank you, Tony.
Your engine's on
I
the
do have an
stand.
engine in there, yep.
Okay. So we don't have to say your age, but
Older than Andrew.
yes. How many years have you been working on cars? Do you know?
Well, I had an interest as soon as I could walk. I remember walking to the window at the house where he lived. I lived on a very busy street, and I'd be looking out the window at the cars and trucks and buses going by, and I was fascinated. It's like, wow. And then, I used to watch my father drive this car. It's 50 Chevy and with a 3-speed in the column, and think about, gee, how's this thing moving? What's making it work? And I was always fascinated by cars and mechanical things, and I'd always when I learned how to read, I would go get to the library and everything I can get my hands on to read and work on things. I used to work on all the kids' bicycles in the neighborhood, have them all torn apart in front of my house with my father's tools and all up and down the sidewalk. And then I graduated to cars, and just fascinated me. And then I wanted to. I ended up working on buses for my career, which are just big cars. So I kind of drifted away from the cars, pardon the pun, and then these guys brought me back, with the older cars and stuff. And one thing I'll say is, when you get two people like you also bring your friends around, and you have a lot of friends who have the same interest. And I always enjoyed working with everybody and helping them out. And I can name names, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you get, let's see, Joey, his brother Tim.
Yep.
Joe, Jordan, Adam was there the other day.
Oh yeah.
Keith.
Yeah.
Let me know if I miss anybody.
You don't name all the names. It's okay. Most of our audience doesn't know them, so
yeah.
There's a long list of hangers around.
Yeah, and I'm meeting new people now every day. Joey sent another guy up the other 2 weeks ago. His name was Richie, and Richie put he had a 1980 Mustang Fox body, and he put an LS engine in it, and he was having a little trouble with it. So Joey says, "Yeah, go up and see Tony. He'll help you out." So
I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, it was a Saturday night, and it was late at night. He says, "Well, we can't run the car in the driveway or the garage because it'll disturb, my wife and the neighbors." So we just discussed
my mom and dad.
Yeah, your mom and dad.
Yeah.
And we because it was summertime, while the windows are open, so we had a nice long discussion about LS engines. I learned more about LS engines in that 1 hour than I have, ever, because I'm learning the new engine stuff, the LS stuff. So,
So to throw this down the road a little bit, are you looking to swap an LS in something now?
Well, actually, yes.
I mean, if one of us has a project that we provide the engine and the funds, you want to experiment with this? Because I can think of a half a dozen cars I want to put an LS in.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday I had the Miata out. We have a 1991 Miata. I had that out, and I went to a shop, and there's in the building there's a young man that has another shop, and he's well known for putting LS engines in everything. He'll put them in a shopping cart, and he spotted the Miata, and he started making me offers to buy it because it wasn't high enough. But he wants it. He wants that car. He wants to put an LS in it.
No, that car's too nice.
And he said his wife wants it, but he wants to do an LS in it. So I was talking to him about it, how he would do it. What kind of transmission, rear end, suspension, stuff like
T5.
that. And and he said, I said, "Do they have kits to do that?" He said, "Yeah, they do, but I don't need them. I can fab everything up, because he's done it before." But that was pretty interesting.
Well, I can't wait to see this LS Mustang. I didn't even hear this story until right now. This is a new one on me.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's a neat car.
Yeah, Richie, he's did a nice job on it. He's really sounds like he's a pretty good mechanic.
You know who it is. I'll tell you who it is afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
He listens.
Yeah,
I think I know who it is already.
Yeah,
all right.
he's going to be
I
listening.
didn't know that car existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just put it together this spring, I think.
That's cool. Very cool.
He was literally, I was talking to him about different things to check on the car. It wasn't running right for him. And I was, throwing some things out. And he was going out there in my driveway, tearing it apart. I'm like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Take it easy." But he finally sorted it out. He figured it out. We kind of put our heads together. And basically, the right-hand bank wasn't really putting out the way it should. And he had a thought, maybe the O2 sensor. And he was right. He changed the O2 sensor. I talked to him yesterday, and the thing runs great now. So
That's funny because speaking of Miatas, he's a former Miata guy too.
Was he?
Yeah. If it's who I'm thinking of.
I know he had a WRX, and I know he had several of them. I know he had
a bunch of cars
Hondas,
over the years.
He's
a
he's
lot of Hondas.
Yeah.
I remember getting a Miata back then.
Car guy like us.
yeah.
That's cool though. I didn't know he built an LS Mustang, and it's funny because I know I follow him on Instagram and I haven't seen pictures of that.
Oh,
either.
really?
Yeah.
He posted it there.
Yeah.
You must have missed it.
I must have missed it somehow. Just pictures of his tree life.
And then Joey, he's we built the Mustang with him and I. Well, him and
Oh yeah, that goes way back.
Yeah, the '79 Fox body.
No,
Yeah,
89 Fox body.
was
It
it?
was a 90.
Was it a 90?
I thought it was a '79.
No, it definitely was not a 79. It was
No, it was a
a
90.
wall. It was an airbag steering wheel and the composite
It
headlights.
was a 90. It was the same as the first one.
Okay, the one you rolled over.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had one before it, which he rolled over. Then he got this one, and he took it apart. He wanted to build it all up, so we built an engine for it and did all the suspension and stuff and all that. And it took a while, but
Tony's being a little modest when he says they built the suspension and all that, because this was a full tubular front structure.
It was all Maxim Motorsports stuff.
With external reservoir coilovers, and it was a pretty ridiculous car. It wasn't just a couple new struts and springs and call it a day. It was
No,
was
it
it a
was
331 stroker,
347.
347.
347.
Yeah, and then it had
It was the 3-link rear end.
yeah,
the Maxim Motorsports.
Maxim Motorsports 3-link rear end, the tubular K-member in the front. Were they Bilsteins?
Probably.
Yeah, they were coilover. They ended up being coilovers.
Yeah, they were coilovers. They were like a remote reservoir coilover. They were ridiculous setup in this car. There was a serious build on this car.
Yeah, there was
Steel fender flares. It was an awesome car.
disc brakes in the rear because it originally had drums and
Oh, yeah, it had Cobra brakes in the front.
fuel cell. Trying to think of the fuel pump, electric fuel pump system, and all that.
It
So
looks like the smoke and tire car, but way before that.
Yeah, it's like 15 years before that.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of steel over fenders. And it was a hatchback instead of a notchback.
but yeah,
That car was amazingly cool.
But
I only got to drive it down the street, unfortunately.
Yeah.
it was very loud, and my neighbors complained. So and
Not my mom and dad.
No.
The other neighbors.
The other neighbors, which rightfully so. She was right. And him and I have done a lot of him and I and you guys we've done a lot of stuff together, and we worked on this Crown Vic a few weeks ago. We got the AC going. He picked up a Crown Vic 2005. It was not really a police car, but it was kind of
It was like a sergeant car.
yeah. It was
The most civilian police car you can get. I think it was used by a school department.
school department. Yeah, out in the western part of the state.
But it had
And,
a police package on it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm reading my notes here. It's V8 4.6, and the AC wasn't working. I said, "Oh, we can fix that." So, notoriously Ford in their infinite wisdom, there's a piece called an accumulator tank in the system, and they made it out of
Right.
steel,
So it rusts.
and it rusts out.
Yeah.
I noticed it the first day he got. First time he brought it over, we put it on the lift, and we were looking it over, and I could see the green dye coming out of it. And I said, "Aha, you got a leak there." So we immediately went after that, and he got the a new accumulator tank, and it was aluminum. So we put that in, and put my vacuum pump on it, and evacuated it, recharged it, and it works pretty good. I had it out the other day in the warm weather. I was driving it around and enjoying it, and reaping the benefits.
Like an undercover cop.
Yeah,
Accelerating quickly through every
Yeah.
stoplight in town.
yeah. Then unbeknownst to me, I was parked in a supermarket parking lot here in town, and I noticed a police cruiser. I looked in my rearview mirror. There's a police cruiser behind me, and he's sitting here. And we figured out, I confronted with Joey, and the cop was running the plates, checking it and all that. And I'm like, wow, okay. And, Joey says they do that routinely. They check for stolen cars and expired stuff like that, or whatever. And so when I got home, I noticed there was no front plate on it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, geez, it could have got me arrested.
I don't think you're going to get arrested for no front plate, Tony, but
Yeah. So
you can get a ticket in the state,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
actually, I gotta get a bracket for the Galant because
I got a ticket for that once.
that needs an inspection next month, and they won't give it to you without a front plate.
Right.
And the bracket broke. I gotta order a new one.
You can tape it on for an inspection if you had to.
Yeah, I just like putting it on. It's easier.
Being a legal beagle.
Yeah.
So then, currently we're working on Joe's car, his Subaru.
Yep.
We
We talked about that the past couple weeks in the podcast, the valve, the exhaust valve that overheated and broke.
right. So the heads are all being worked on as we speak right now.
Yeah, so I got those out. He's gonna replace all the exhaust valves. Machine shop.
Yep. And we'll put it back, motor back together, and put the motor back.
Yeah,
in the
he'll
car.
leave the cam seals out for me, or
Yeah.
for us, because those plastic timing covers have to go back behind everything, and then you got to put the cam gears on.
Oh, okay, that's right too.
Yeah, That all has to go on first.
Did you mention the valve cover bolt? It's got to be tapped.
I forgot to, but
Hopefully he'll figure it out.
yeah, I'm sure he looked them over. If not, I can just...
Yeah, we can tap it anyway.
I can just have him do it
Yeah.
when I go pick him up.
Give him a call tomorrow, remind him. Yeah. But, and then we found the special tools online, and you picked them up to hold the sprockets.
For the cam sprockets?
Yeah.
So we don't have to do the...
When we,
Well,
you don't have to...
You can't torque them right with the timing belt. You can
that's
break
true,
them free,
too.
but
Yeah, you want to have those bolts torqued properly.
You wouldn't get a good torque reading because the
Then
belt would be moving.
the Snap-on guy comes on Wednesdays. I forgot to bring that socket again.
Oh, that's all
just
set.
today's
I got that.
Wednesday.
I got that.
Oh, you got a new one already?
Yeah, I have a friend that's a Snap-on dealer also took care of that. So yeah, we're working on that, and Brad's truck. We got to look at the air conditioner.
Yep, more AC talk.
We got to check the clutch on the compressor, and it's for some reason it's not kicking in. So it could
Right.
be anything
Electrical.
from a fuse or a relay or a bad clutch,
No,
or
it's not the fuse. I'll tell you that.
okay, low pressure switch. A very very strong possibility.
Yep.
I was told. Check those, and
No, that's Audi's all day long. The low pressure switch
Yeah,
on the
'cause
condenser goes.
Well, I know I already did the first thing. It was about 50% full. It wasn't
yeah,
very full.
okay,
Which will be enough to not kick the compressor on.
right.
So I actually have already evacuated the system, filled it, and then sucked any moisture out of it, and it didn't work. So it's something else, unfortunately. But at least it's nice and full now.
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't have to break it.
Well, it needs this switch. It needs a reading from the switch to tell it to kick on. Because,
Right, which is why when it's low, it won't kick on.
Right.
So it was low, so I was hoping
So
it was
when it was low, it might have been cycling more than it should have been, and it
Overheated the
could have,
switch.
It could have damaged the switch, and it normally that's the way those systems work. It's called a clutch cycling switch, basically.
okay.
So yeah, we're going to look
Hopefully
at
that's
that.
inexpensive, and that's what it is. Because
Yeah, it's easy to change. You don't have to discharge the system because there's a Schrader valve, and you just unscrew it. It's like a tire valve.
oh, excellent.
You just unscrew it, put the new one on, hook it back up.
Yeah, I don't usually own cars with air conditioning, so I don't know much about repairing air conditioning because
Yeah,
the Dodge Colts don't have them.
No.
let's roll the windows down.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
255 AC,
Yeah, exactly.
2 windows down, 55 miles an hour.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, air conditioning and electrical and engines, that's my forte. I like
Oh, yeah.
working on that stuff, and and I have learned.
Anything but body work.
Yeah, I've dabbled in body work a little bit. Not really. I'm more of a mechanical guy. But I like.
Which is why I always thought that you and my dad should go open business together. You do the mechanics, he does the body work, he's the body man. You guys could restore everything on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've.
But you're both, not into it enough anymore.
Well, we could get into it.
Yeah, I think so.
What was I going to say? Yeah, but I have learned a lot from you guys. Working on these cars and the older cars, I've learned a lot about Mitsubishis from Andrew.
Except how to pronounce the word, apparently.
Yeah, I know. From now on, I'm going to say Diamond Star. Okay?
Nope, that's only the Talons, the Eclipses, and Lasers.
Well,
The rest of them are Mitsubishis.
We made you all buy all these metric tools.
Yeah, that's true, too.
yeah, I've learned how to read their schematics and their books and interpret them and how they do things, and it's pretty decent stuff. And we have we've worked on Andrew's Talon. Basically, he brought that home in bits and pieces and put it back together. We built.
It was one solid car. It just needed to be all taken apart.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, that car, it ran and drove. It just needed to be fixed up.
It needed a
Initially,
clutch.
it ran and drove.
No, there was
and,
no clutch. It needed CV axles.
Was it CVI? I thought it was a clutch.
Yeah, no, it was CV
yeah,
axles.
I remember doing the wheel bearings at first. In the beginning.
Yeah, because
I-
they were worn out.
Yeah, I had to take him to a shop that I was working with, a bus shop, and I remember trying to press the axle out. It was like horrendous. It was really locked in there. But we got the hubs rebuilt, and we went through another set of bearings in that thing too. I remember,
Well, that was 10 years later
Yeah.
and like 30,000 miles. So, yeah.
A lot of sitting time, though.
Yeah.
So.
No.
but then at one point it needed an engine, so we built up an engine for it, and
Which was 13 years ago now.
And then
Yeah.
a transmission.
Yeah.
another transmission.
That was the same year.
Yeah.
Was it the same year?
Yeah, it was
Did it
that
need it,
summer.
or did you just put it in for was starting to wear? It needed it.
Something.
We can't say too much. Andrew's dad's here. We don't want to get him grounded.
Well, I know what happened.
I don't remember what happened. We'll talk about it later, I guess.
I'm used to seeing failures like that, and I know why it happens. And then the Gallant. Remember the Gallant? We had to go to.
Oh, that was in pieces.
We took a trip to Connecticut that
Yep.
first night to look at it. It was a Monday night, and we were looking at it in the guy's driveway, in the dark, and there was no engine in it. The guy he was using it for racing, and he pulled the engine out, and you guys were all excited over it, and I'm like thinking, oh my God, here we go.
What are they getting us into?
And then
But the body was solid. That's why
yeah.
it didn't need any body work at all. It still doesn't.
So then we rented a U-Haul truck and a trailer and went down and got it on the weekend and loaded it up and drove it home. Well, I drove the truck home. You guys followed me in another car.
Didn't I drive the truck home?
No,
I took the steering.
No, you guys.
Oh, I had the Starion. That's right,
you
too.
guys were in another car. You didn't want to ride with me, right? And I remember pulling into a rest area and there was gas leaking out of this car. I'm like, oh, geez.
Oh, that's right, too.
We got to get out of here. And because
the travel all in Connecticut.
this guy had this thing all torn apart. So anyway, we got it home.
It had like 3/4-inch shoe lines on the back of
Yeah.
it. I remember.
Yeah, it was so.
I still have to swap that tank. I want to do that later this summer.
So you got a block somewhere, an engine, I forget. And then,
I got it from a
tan's
guy
out
I
on the
worked
back.
with. Yeah, the tan parts car
okay.
for super cheap because it came with the transmission and the engine, but the engine spun number 1 rod bearing.
I don't know anything about that.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I had the crank.
That's why he parked that car, and that's why he sold it to me for so cheap because it was
Needed
spun.
motor.
Yeah, so we knew that, and we took it apart, and he had the crank
Yeah,
ground down and then welded back up.
yeah. Did we bore that block out? I can't remember.
I think a little bit, maybe
little bit,
one
yeah.
over.
Yeah, we had the block board. You had a head though for it, I
It
believe.
came with a head. It was all complete.
Okay, the head was all set, and then the crank I had to have. They spray welded it or something and built it up, and then rebuilt the journal and reground it. So we used that crank, and then
Yeah, then they
Got
sized
that.
the bearings, right, and then they did we plastic gauged them afterwards
yeah.
to check it, and it was all set.
But the smart thing you did was you left it stock, because unlike the Talon, you put some hot cams in the Talon and a bigger turbo, I remember, and it was a little hard to tune. It was driving me nuts, but anyway, the Gallant come out nice, it was smooth. And you left a balance shaft in it. I learned about balance shafts from that.
50% of our listeners just went, why?
It just worked. I don't know.
No, it's a nice car. And then we got the AC running. Andrew rounded up all the parts. He went hunting, which is what he's good at. He went,
That's what he's good for. You're going to say it. I heard it.
and he, I don't want to say, he rounded up all the parts, the hard lines and the hoses. We got a new compressor for it, and because we had to
New
convert it.
OEM condenser, like the last
The last one in existence.
Yeah.
Wow. Gee, I didn't know that. So we had to convert it from 12 to 134A. And that was basically the first car I ever did like that. So we flushed out the system and put the new compressor on it with the proper oil for 134A, got it running, and, it worked out pretty good. Knock
It still
on wood.
works.
Still
Yeah.
works.
And then Andrew drove it to Texas in the hot heat,
Yeah.
and it was very comfortable the whole
Yeah.
time because he had air conditioning.
Now the other day, remember that OEM fan failed in it like a year ago?
Yep.
We tried it. It was an experiment, the $30 eBay one.
Yeah, the cheap one.
It works okay, and the other day when it was real hot,
Yeah, temperature started creeping up a little bit.
yeah, and it was funny because I wasn't running the AC. I was actually sitting because sometimes I don't like it. I just was driving around in traffic with
Yeah,
the windows down,
yeah.
and that's when it started to heat up. But as soon as you turn the AC on, because it clicked on the second fan,
It was a little
it started.
extra
It
airflow.
actually cooled it off more.
Which is funny because some cars run hotter with the AC on.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Well, with the additional fan.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're gonna have to look for an actual quality, like a Spall, like a motorsports fan.
Speaking of which, we're going to need to put some kind of fan, I think, on the blue Colt radiator.
Well, did you have that radiator? Should have that taken out and cleaned.
Yeah, maybe get a record or something.
Yeah, it's probably clogged up with stuff.
I don't know. It's getting annoying because it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I have a brass radiator left over for that Gallant.
For the Gallant, you haven't put it in yet, yeah.
So what else on the Gallant? Have we missed anything? You did a lot of wiring on that. Oh, yeah, because the
Yeah, we had
wiring.
to piece the wiring back
Oh,
together.
yeah, that guy had the wiring all hacked up. Oh, it was awful.
Hopefully he doesn't listen.
And then I don't care. It's the truth.
Wire nuts.
Wire nuts.
Yeah,
and
stuff was
house
twisted.
wiring, wire
awful.
nuts. Yep.
I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Stuff was hand twisted together.
Yeah, so we, anytime we had to make a connection, it was crimp, solder, heat shrink,
Yeah, that was one of my most, I guess, impressed with moments on the build of that whole car was when Andrew made that whole new harness for the car. Yeah, he laid out the whole harness and redid all the connections and pretty much built a new harness for the car.
Well, I
Yeah.
just did it I do 1 or 2 connectors a night.
Yeah,
And I
so it
bought
was all
a
new
second harness
to have all the right stuff.
to have all the right stuff. But then come to find out there is a guy that I got those connectors from that now supplies them. So.
Yeah, but 5 years ago he probably didn't.
Yeah.
So, or
Yeah.
even more than 5 years
Yeah.
ago. It's probably, how long ago was that now?
It was 2011, 2012.
Jesus. Okay, yeah, so it was a long time
The
ago.
car's got 30,000 miles on it now.
On the build.
Yeah.
Excellent.
yeah.
So, we know where your interest in cars came from.
Well, I inherited it from my father.
No, you didn't, right? Or you did?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
he was into cars.
Yeah, well, he was a mechanic, and he was in World War II, and he worked on airplanes and stuff like that. And, so it's in my blood. It's in our blood, So
Well, do you know how he got started, or
it's just in his blood.
some people are just like that?
Yeah,
His grandfather used to wrench on horse and buggies.
Yeah, it's not that far removed from that.
So what kind of official training did you have before you went into the business? Did you just start doing it for a job in high school? Did you have legitimate training before you started working on cars? Or was it just kind of you trained as you went along?
Read books, like I said, and anything I got my hands on, and took things apart and made sure I could get them back together. And I used to do a lot of work on my father's car. He had a 59 Chevy wagon. I remember rebuilding the carburetor on that and the generator and all kinds of stuff. And he'd be like, don't screw it up. I need that to get to work. But it worked out. And then I used to go over to the local junkyards and get parts for it, and I kind of upgraded some things to it. I added a clock to it, I remember, and he came in. It never had a clock. It was, and he looked and he said, "Oh, where'd that come from?" I said, "I put it in." Being a 14-year-old kid, basically, I used to go over there with my bicycle and my toolbox, stuff like that.
So when you started working on vehicles professionally, was that like high school age or after college or?
Probably the senior year in high school. Actually, a friend of mine and I were working on the teacher's cars. And
Awesome.
we would take a teacher's car out during the day and do a brake job or a tune-up and, bring it back. And that's kind of how we got through some of our courses because we hated high school. I didn't like it, and I wanted a wrench and all that. So
It's also in your blood.
yeah. So, and then he started working for the local bus company here.
Is this who I assume it is?
No, you never met him.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you did this with your good friend or not, who I know, but apparently not.
Who's that?
Lenny.
No.
Okay.
No, Lenny's another story. He's fun, but no, he was working over there at the bus company, and he said to me, "Geez, you ought to come down and check these things out." And so I went down one night, and him and his boss were trying to change the front springs on his boss's Chevy Caprice. And they were both scratching their head, how are we going to do this? I said, come on. So I grabbed, so we did the job, the three of us. And the end of the night, we're cleaning up, and his boss was like, "Hey, would you like a job?" And I said, "I don't know anything about buses." He said, "Nah, don't worry about it. They're just big cars." So I got a job there, and I started working on those things. And, it's pretty interesting and all that, amazing technology. So I worked there for 10 years. Then I finally went to school. I went to East Coast Aerotech.
Which is an airframe school, right?
Yeah, a mechanic for airplanes, airframe and power plant. So I went there. That was a 18-month course. And so I had an advantage over most of the guys there. I had already been working and stuff and had a lot of experience and a passion. So when I started out, there was like probably 60, 65 people the first day. And as we went along, people were dropping out. So by the end, it was like 35 people, and I ended up graduating number 1 out of 35 people, out of all those people.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Based on your mechanical skills and knowledge.
Nope.
So you were pretty much self-taught up to that point, though.
Yes.
There was no official training of any kind.
No.
Which is
I remember,
impressive based on, everything you've done.
even when I was working at the bus shop, initially I would see books, shop manuals. I'd grab them, bring them home, read them, come back with them. And, I'd be spewing out all this information. They'd be looking at me like, how do you know that? And I said, I read the manual.
Well, to this day, you're the only person I know who's like has an encyclopedic knowledge of buses. Like what brands they are.
Oh, you haven't been to a bus rodeo.
Yeah, I know. I've heard about the bus rodeos. What brands they are, what years they were by looking at them. What model name with what engine, and it's pretty impressive. Like everything that Andrew and I can spout off about, like DSMs and Gallants. About 40 year history of
If you
buses.
watch a movie, a period movie with him, and they have the wrong year bus in it.
Oh, forget about it. Well, I'm that way with cars.
Right.
But I don't know anybody else that way with buses other than you.
Yeah. Well, as a matter of fact, last night on Facebook, I follow a bunch of things on, what do they call, posts on Facebook?
Yeah, sure. Posts, threads, whatever.
Threads. There was one guy, he come up and he's got this bus, and the engine was not running right. It was electronically controlled. So people are spewing out all these suggestions. I'm like, oh my God, they're way out in left field. So I put out a bunch of suggestions to him, and that was it. And then this morning he posted, oh gee, yeah, I fixed it. That guy was right. I did find some broken wires, and I only had how many 5 or 6 cylinders running on instead of 8 and all that. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And
Well, you fixed a lot of like tour buses and stuff in the past, big motor coaches,
right.
because you worked for the motor coach companies for a while.
What was it? Eagle.
I worked for 3 manufacturers, actually. Eagle, another company called Prevost, and they're famous for their big, fancy motorhomes.
And didn't you work in the Madden Cruiser once or something?
That was the MCI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Madden Cruiser.
Everybody knows that Madden is afraid to fly, so he takes a bus everywhere.
Well, he's not afraid to
He
fly.
doesn't like to fly.
He's claustrophobic.
Oh, okay.
See, people don't know that about him.
Oh.
See, that's why he had his own bus.
But it's cool
Yeah.
that you got to wrench on the Madden Cruiser once.
Yeah. I worked on Johnny Cash's bus, and when I worked for Eagle, a lot of the
They
entertainers
like the Eagles, right?
They love the Eagles because they rode nice. They actually had a rubber torsion bar suspension, and they rode and handled nice. So I worked on, I remember.
Did you get to meet Johnny Cash?
Melissa Manchester, Air Supply. Remember the band Air Supply?
Yeah. Well, I don't remember them from the time period because we were too young, but we certainly know who they are.
One of the Everly Brothers buses, and the Everly Brothers, nobody knew this, but they didn't get along with each other. They hated, so they never traveled together.
Did one of them just die?
I don't know.
I don't know.
No.
But I remember working on one of those and stuff like that. But yeah, that was fun.
I didn't hear those stories before. I only knew about the Madden Cruiser.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Didn't you get a ride on one of them one time with somebody?
Well, I worked in the Air Supply bus in Albany, New York. They were up in Saratoga doing a show.
Yeah.
So they were heading to Boston. Their next appearance was in Boston. So I said, well, geez, I need to ride on this to make sure it's, running properly. So I talked him into let me ride on it. So I rode it, in Boston, and I had my camera, and I was trying to take pictures of him, and their bodyguard was like, no, you're not going to do that. So he was a big guy. So I said, yes, sir.
That's very cool.
Yeah, Air Supply. There was.
I couldn't tell you one song that Air Supply sings. Could
No.
you? Yeah. We have some music fan listeners I know that will be mad at us for not knowing.
And what was the there was one posted, that conversion coach, it was posted to bring a trailer like last week, and they had it written up as it was twin charge, but it wasn't.
Turbocharged, and it wasn't.
Yeah. It was just supercharged.
Yeah.
It just
the Bring a Trailer ad had it wrong?
Yeah.
Wow, that's rare. They're pretty
Yeah.
good about
well, I think they reposted it from the original seller's ad. Maybe they had it
the
wrong.
original seller had it wrong.
They did? They
Yeah.
changed it?
I don't know if they changed it, but
Because I made a comment about that.
oh yeah.
Of course you
Yeah.
did.
Well, that's the thing with Bring a Trailer. Usually the commenters will pick stuff out that's wrong.
Yeah,
with
they
stuff.
definitely will. It's hard to sell a car on there if it's not perfect because everybody
Yeah.
really kind of.
Well, what's happening now is a lot of these people have these older coaches. They were originally seated coaches. We call them seated coaches, for the passenger buses. And now they've been converted to RVs. And these people, and they come on there and they're trying to work on them. And like, oh, my God, please, you're going to get hurt. Put the tools down, walk away.
Call a professional.
And, you start posting things that are right, but then all these other people are out there, just throwing things out. I'm like, oh boy.
Well, everything's bigger on them, right? So it's like, stuff's heavier.
So we need to get you back out there as a hired gun for fixing these old motorhomes.
We'll have to show you next time you're over the garage. Don't you have a big torsion bar wrench?
Oh, I've seen the torsion bar wrench. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's
like comically huge.
It's
the one that
it's like a launch drive shaft.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the one that they jokingly give to like a model to stand next to a car with.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculously big. Wait, you mentioned quickly too the bus rodeos. I know you've done a lot of those in the past too, which those are a cool thing that a lot of people don't know about probably.
Oh yeah. We did 2 of those. They had the regionals, and you had competitions among other mechanics and technicians. And they had like written tests, and then they had a hands-on thing. People come along and they would plant bugs in the bus, and we had to go find them. So then I won the regionals. I remember the first one I had to go to Albany, New York to do, and then one was actually in Salem, where I worked. And then so I made it to the nationals, and that was in Nashville, Tennessee. It was first one in 1994, and the second was 1995. So, we got there, and there was this one guy that he kept coming in, all the time, consistently top, and then I came in, and I don't want to blow my own horn, but I blew him out of the water.
That's why I brought it up, because I wanted you to toot your own horn.
He was like, where the heck did this guy come from? But... Yeah,
didn't they have like a driving portion of those too?
Well,
it was a tiebreaker.
They had a tiebreaker.
It was a technicality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a stupid thing, and... Anyway.
It was basically a bus autocross, wasn't it? It was a cone course. You drive the bus around?
Well, that was for the drivers. They had that set up for a course for the drivers to go, test their driving skills. And they still do that. In fact, my last job was at the local transit authority here in Boston, the T. And they do that every year. They do the rodeo for the drivers, and then they have the mechanics, and they set up these... engines and components and stuff, and they put bugs in them, and they have to find them and stuff. And they went to, where'd they go this year? I forget, Nevada, I think, and to compete, But
that's one of those things that somebody who's into cars will see a bus and not even think about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an outside liar. Like a car person might look at a 18-wheeler and be like, oh, that thing's awesome. But they look at a bus and they won't even think of the mechanical aspect of it because it's so far removed from anything that anybody who's into cars knows anything about. And because I grew up across the street from you guys, I had a little bit more interest in buses than maybe most other car people. But it's cool now. Whenever I see an old bus, I get excited and I, take a picture of it and ask Tony what year it is.
Yeah. Well, the car competition, I think back when I was growing up, Chrysler did it. They used to have, I forget what they called it. I don't know if they had a specific name for it, but they had competitions where they would take a bunch of cars and put bugs in them, and the technicians would go out there and they'd have to find the bugs and all that, and that was for them. And
that's something you don't hear about anymore.
No, I was surprised Audi does it for their techs.
Oh, they do it?
Yeah, they'll do a national and then they'll do an international.
I mean, it sounds like something that's good because the mechanic's going to learn something and they're going to enjoy it instead of just, all right, I'm going to work on a car again. Like, hey, I'm really good at this. Here's how I do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that should be something people should do more.
Take pride in their work.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, what was I going to say? Oh, well, but between cars and buses, a bus was the first time I heard of a automatic, like a manual transmission that was automatic, like a twin clutch kind of.
A manual valve body kind of deal?
ZF. The ZF transmission?
Yeah, ZF. It was a 12-speed. It was actually a manual gearbox, but it was run electronically, so there's no clutch pedal. And it was pretty amazing. And there were a lot of bugs that they had to work out. And we used to give the engineers a lot of feedback and stuff like that. And, I remember those were pretty interesting.
Because you basically ran a manual because it was stronger than automatic for the...
Well, they basically wanted to eliminate a lot of the friction and losses on that to increase the fuel mileage. And this was ZF. There was, German people, and they used to overdo things too, though. They would go,
As
way
most
overboard.
German engineers do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For anyone that works on an Audi or a BMW knows.
Yeah.
And then old cars. I always liked old cars. I loved cars from the 30s, and for some reason. And then meeting Brad's father, he was always into old cars. I remember the first time I met him, when, he had built this house across the street from me a couple of years before me. So I went up there and I'm, checking out my land and stuff like that. And then Bob came over and introduced himself and he brought me over to his garage, or us. There was Andrew with us and my friend Lenny and Andrew's mother, my wife. And Bob was showing us his garage with his collection of cars. And he didn't know me, and, so I'm in there, and I'm spouting off all the names of the cars, and, that's a 58 Caddy, and that's a 63 Thunderbird, and he's looking at me like, what? How do you know all this? I said, well, I've been around cars a little bit. So, yeah, we hit it off, and then, then Andrew and Brad hit it off real well, too, so, yeah, it all worked out.
Well, to be fair, not right away, because Andrew was a baby.
Yeah. I was real...
You were 2 years old.
Yeah.
You were 2 years old.
I'm 3 years older than Andrew, for those who don't know, so when he was 2 and I was... 5.
Yeah.
We didn't exactly hang out that much then. It was a couple years later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe like 5 and 8. We started hanging out a little more with our pedal cars in the driveway.
So that brings us to the North Shore Car Club, which we belong to, and Brad's shaking his head. But no, we all belong to that, and I bought the Pontiac from it was your Uncle Peter's.
Yep, the 65 Pontiac Catalina.
Yeah. And I bought that in 1999.
It's a very 90s color.
It is a very nice color.
Yeah,
it's that Ford Calypso green.
Yeah.
Big chrome and gorgeous car,
Yeah, that was my late Uncle Peter's car.
Yeah, and convertible. So, I have that. And
So before we go too off topic,
okay.
What interesting cars have you owned over the years? You don't need to give us a list of every car you've owned, because that would be too long, and we don't care about the company cars. Although the Citation was cool, even though it was a terrible car.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are some interesting cars? Some highlights of your car history in your
All right.
years of driving?
69 Roadrunner.
Is it your first car?
No.
What was your first car?
My first car was, my brother and I had the same car. It was a 62 Studebaker. And Studebaker Lark.
A Lark, okay.
Two-door.
Very cool.
And
Probably not cool at the time.
No. I was like, I got to get out of this.
Now it would be cool to have it. Now it would be cool to have it.
Yeah.
I like Larks.
And then the house I grew up in was a 3-family house. We were renting the third floor to a school teacher, actually, in the high school, and he had a 66 Ford, 2-door, 3-speed in the column, 6-cylinder, no power steering, no power brakes. Thing was like a truck to drive. And he moved back to Michigan. That's where he's from. So I bought the car from him, and so I had that car. And then I got after that I bought a '69 Roadrunner, and this was in 1971, so it was used. I bought it from my friend Lenny. His family had a used car lot in Salem.
Do you remember how much that was?
$1,500, $1,500, right?
It's a 3-year-old car.
Yeah, 383, 4-speed, obviously. No power steering, no power brakes.
$50,000 car now.
Like driving a truck, And I had that car until I ordered a brand new Z28 74. And I had to get rid of the Roadrunner, I wish I had the hindsight to keep it, but,
But if everybody kept their cars back then, they wouldn't be worth what they're worth now anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I had no place to put it anyway, but... So I couldn't give that car away because it was in 74, and then we had the gas crunch, and the insurance was high on those cars. And I I think I sold it for $400. You know, it's coming. You know, so then I had the Camaro, and then
the 74 is E28, right?
Yeah.
So it was basically
Big bumpers.
big bumper car, like a tape stripe option car, right?
I deleted the stripes because
Okay.
I ordered the car. I ordered it. I wanted it the way I wanted.
It was like a silvery blue, right?
Yeah, it was the blue, you know, with a black interior console. And my friend Lenny, we keep talking about him. He had an identical car, except his was a column shift. He liked column shifts for some reason, automatic.
A column shift Z28?
Column shift Z28.
I didn't even know that
automatic.
existed.
Yeah.
Was it a bench seat?
No.
Or still have a console?
No, it had buckets. I don't think it had a console.
That's so strange.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Order them any way you wanted back
And
then.
he ordered it too that way. He, you know, and you know, they both had the same engine. They both had the same transmission, the Turbo Hydro 400s, and so those were, you know, our cars then. And then after that, I bought a '75 Corvette. I bought that brand new, and I had that a few years, and that met a bad fate, so we won't go there. And then let's see.
It met a bad fate that basically says that it's gone now.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
We'll leave it there.
It's gone to Corvette heaven.
Yeah.
I would love to track down the Camaro. You know, I was going through some paperwork a few months ago, and I found old registrations for it with the VIN.
If you have the VIN, you might be able to find it.
Yeah,
if it still exists.
I know. I'd like to track it down.
74, 5, and 6 Camaros weren't held onto for a long time because they were kind of the...
But they're going to go up.
They are. Just the way anything is. The car's going to go up. It's never going to be worth as much as a 70 or an 80. But they're going to go up. But they weren't held onto because they had the big aluminum bumpers, and people weren't putting any money into them because for years they just weren't worth it. So most of them got used for parts that fit the other cars to restore them, like the doors or other parts. But
well, what I liked about this one, it was the last year they had the smaller back window.
Right.
After that, they had that
big back window.
yeah, that kind of ruined the style. But I was watching an interesting show the other day, Stacey Davis on Gears, and he had a 81 Camaro, and you know, you never realize it, but the bodies were all the same,
identical.
Yeah. And you know, and then he took the front end off and he put the nose of a split bumper,
Like a 70?
70, yeah,
And they backdated it.
and it come out nice. It looked nice.
But I had
you
the
know?
big back window.
It had the big back window.
Yeah.
Yeah, still had the big. And then the next show he was going to do was going to do something with the rear end, but I haven't caught the next show, or I don't even know if it came out or not.
Yeah, those Camaros from 1970 to 1982 were pretty much the same car. There was some slight sheet metal stampings differently, but you know, basically the quarter panel on the door and the roof line was all very similar.
Yeah, because in 83 was the new third gen.
Yeah, 83 is the third gen.
Yeah. I went to a car show. We went, Brad and his father went also a couple weeks ago, and I saw a beautiful 55 Chevy. I always liked the 55s, 6 and 7s. Well, mostly the 55 and 7. I kind of didn't like the 6s. But anyway, this car...
It's funny because the 6 is my favorite.
This thing really caught my eye. It was like beautiful, like a copper metallic and with a white silvery top. And I'm looking at this thing. This thing was gorgeous. The guy had an LS3 in it, and a modern automatic and nice interior, big plush Cadillac seats and all that. And I'm looking at it. And this guy sitting with him, he goes, you know, it was a two-door pillar. If, you know, guys know that. It was a post. And, it was a two-door.
Right, it's a two-door, but it has a post almost like where the post would be on a four-door.
Right. So
Almost.
that's not a hard top. That's a sedan.
It's a two-door sedan.
Two-door sedan, right. The hard top would have had, well, they didn't have hard tops in 55. They just started them in 56. That was when you roll the windows down on a four-door. There was no post.
And it was all open.
Yeah, so that was a hard top. So anyway, this guy, his friend says, yeah, this car started out life as a four-door. I'm like, what? I couldn't believe it. And the guy showed me pictures, and this guy actually, he got two doors from a two-door car and put them on, move the post over, new quarter panels. The roof was identical. Did a gorgeous job, though. I was, like, really impressed. Really nice.
Yeah, because the basically the car is the same, just the quarters are different, and the roof is different. So if you have the donor parts, you can make it.
I guess it's worth more as a two-door.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it looks, it's better appealing. And then I'm thinking, boy, you know how many four-doors I had the opportunity to buy, and I turned them down because I didn't want a four-door. You know, now I'm like, oh, man, I could have done that. So
Yeah, but at the same time, it was a lot of work.
yeah, I know, a lot of work and money. Yeah, that car had to be probably $100,000 car. It was really, really nice, but it really impressed me. You know,
What you do is you buy those after somebody's already done it.
Yeah, by the done project.
Yeah, because then they always lose money on those.
right. When the guy, either passes away or gets sick of it.
Yeah.
But let's see what else.
Andrew, do you have any more questions for your father while we're going on?
I don't know. Do you remember how many engines maybe you've rebuilt?
I don't know. Probably. I don't know. I'm guessing. Around 50. Depends on from the diesels all the way up to down to car engines and stuff like that. Those. Did stuff like that. And then we're doing stuff now too.
Yeah.
Obviously, and that's what we like to do.
We have a lot of head gaskets to do now, unfortunately.
I know.
It's like head gasket summer for us.
Well, no, like the universe is like, oh, you guys apparently like taking the heads off engines, so here's some more.
Really?
I don't know
Well,
if you've heard of the
oh,
most recent one we have to do.
So
No.
Jordan's friend owns an MG, and it apparently it wouldn't start the other day, but then they were looking down the oil cap and it had coolant in it.
Uh-oh.
So,
Huh.
It's an MG midget, though. It's a tiny little motor. It should be easy.
yeah.
It's going to be like, oh boy. All right.
No, it should just come off with, I think there's like 4 head bolts in that thing.
There's not very many at all.
It's not even
It should be a pretty simple.
It's a cam and block. It's not even a,
Yeah. Yeah, it's wicked old school.
yeah.
Yeah. That'll
But,
be all right.
but she wants to take it apart, so we'll just
Yeah.
stand there and
Yeah.
make sure she doesn't.
She bought the car to learn how to wrench,
Yeah.
so we'll certainly we'll help her along without getting too involved, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe we'll have it being done on the side while we put something else together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that should be interesting. 'Cause I've never worked on an old British motor before. So, I mean, they're pretty antiquated. So, it'd be kind of interesting to see how antiquated they are. Because they're 4-cylinder pushrod motors. They're not,
Tractor motors.
they're not overhead cam stuff
No.
like we're used to. They're very industrial.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing with those is when you do get the heads off, you should have the valve seats.
Hardened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may have already been done because this motor was done once before.
Really?
Yeah, the car was restored before.
Yeah. Because with non-leaded gas, you need hardened seats on the exhaust.
Yeah, we did that when we did the Camaro heads. We did that.
Oh, okay.
Remember we did the Camaro heads
Yeah.
when the
Yeah, the
timing,
timing
chain snapped?
Yeah. Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, well, we had I had the motor done, the heads done by the machine shop, and I had them put the hardened seats in. So
Oh yeah, you gotta have the you gotta fix that oil line in that thing too.
I did. And you know how much that part costs?
Yeah, how much did that cost?
$6.
Yeah.
I parked the car over a $6 part.
What was the part you needed? The line?
It's the line for the mechanical oil gauge.
Right.
So that's all it was.
Yeah, good.
I thought it was something worse than that, but it's not.
Where did you get the line?
I haven't ordered it yet,
Oh.
but they have it at year one.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
sure.
you gotta make it for that thing.
Yeah, they make everything for the Camaro, so.
Yeah. You can buy a body in white for that car.
And it's the same, yeah, you can actually. And it's the same line as like the Chevelle and the Camaro and the any GM that had the mechanical gauge.
Is it is it like an upgraded version of it?
They do, yeah. It's a newer material, so it'll last, forever.
Another 50 years.
Yeah, well, it's 68 and hasn't broken before, so.
Yeah, it was a kind of a crazy idea where they ran a line from the engine all the way
Hot oil into the interior of the car right next to your legs.
I guess if you don't have the, I don't know, did they not have a miniature electronics for that, for a sender?
Well, they could have done electronic gauges back then. They had electronic gauges.
Yeah.
They just probably didn't fit the cost-profit analysis.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, rather than run a whole new wiring harness for these cars, we'll just run a tube of hot oil into the passenger compartment.
Yeah, and then it'll break and it'll spray oil all over the place. Yeah.
I'm just glad when it broke on the exterior of the car, so it was under the hood. It wasn't in the cabin of the car. And it wasn't like when I was going somewhere with my wife or daughter.
Yeah.
So it didn't like break in the car all over my kid or my wife's legs. That would have been bad.
Yeah.
Or like on the exhaust manifold.
Well, it was spraying on the exhaust.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that's why it was smoking so much.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. It was the universe said something that day because it literally fell apart in my father's driveway where the car was stored in his garage.
You're lucky.
Oh, very lucky. because that could have been a pain in the butt. So, but it wasn't. So I just got to do it. I'm sure it's a pain to do it because I pull the console apart, but it shouldn't be too bad, I guess.
It's like 4 screws.
It really is 4 screws, yeah. And I'm sure I can probably just tie it to the end of the old one and pull it through the firewall.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be too bad to do, but...
What does it hook into, though? Like the head or something?
Yeah, it's a little fitting right below the manifold.
The back of the block.
Yeah.
The rear of the block. Right behind the where the intake manifold is.
So you went over your list of cars that you've owned that are interesting, but what you conveniently left off the list is, for some reason, all these interesting cars that you've ever had, later on in your life, when you had Andrew, you owned Volvos.
Oh.
And for some reason, those are what stuck in Andrew's head and made Andrew a Volvo Mitsubishi guy.
I still want a 242.
So Andrew remembers most fondly your silver 242 Turbo.
Yes. Yeah. Well, before that, I bought a used 72 240.
Which is
Was it
also
240?
amazingly cool.
Yeah, 240. It was a 4-door.
That was the yellow car?
Yeah, 244.
Yeah, the yellow car.
My grandfather ended up with.
And it was in real good shape. I drove that
Did you
a
guys
long,
take
long
that-
time. And then when I got out of school, my wife and I drove it across country. We took a trip and drove that. It ran flawlessly. Never skipped a beat. And then that was in 1980.
Didn't you... I remember you saying, didn't you have to buy, like, chains because you were going over Donner Pass?
No,
No?
we didn't. No, because we didn't know. That was not us.
No?
No.
Oh.
We went up, some pretty good altitude, though, and it ran good. And we went all the way to California.
Yeah.
She had a cousin living out there. We ended up out there, for a few days, and I changed the oil out there. And then we drove it back. We went to Vegas and, cross country. We took a month off, and then, we drove it. And like I said, it ran perfectly. And then in 1981, we bought a brand new turbo, the 240 turbo.
Yeah, the silver one,
Silver one,
242
yeah.
Turbo.
Yeah,
I remember that car from
2-door, four
youth.
Well, 4-speed with an overdrive.
Yeah, the electric
turbocharge.
overdrive.
Yeah, electric overdrive. That was a beautiful car, and I wish I still had that car today. And for some reason we sold it, which big mistake.
Well, no, you're buying the house. Or you're building the house.
Yeah, we're already in the house, but I don't know. I can't remember. And then your mother had a Sunbug when I met her, a '74 Sunbug.
Yeah.
And we had that for a while. I took that apart and had it repainted.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was just trying to relay something to Andrew.
Oh, and I remember having that repainted, and we drove that for and then she sold that, and that was a mistake. She wishes she still had that again today.
I know she wants a Beetle.
Yeah, she wants a convertible. And,
Not other than the Miata, she wants a Beetle convertible.
yeah.
Old Beetle.
Yeah, not a new Beetle, an old Beetle.
Right. Well, there's someone we know that has a car like that. He's in, we all know him.
Yep.
And I'll ask him someday, and
He's been off and on thinking about selling it, I think. So,
Has he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs some work. I've seen it. It's a little rough around the edges, but
It's a good driver.
nothing we can handle.
And mechanically, it runs. That's all you need is something that runs decent.
Yeah, I think it's a type. What was it? Type 2 or a Super Beetle? Super Beetle. Yeah, the curved windshield, and so it had the struts in the front, and power blower motor for the defroster. I remember those about the Super Beetles. They were a little bit better. So anyway,
Yeah, because they had the strut suspension versus
A little more modern versus the torsion bars.
versus torsion bars. Yeah.
yeah.
It
Speaking
depends on who you talk to. Some people don't like them.
Speaking of Volkswagens, your friend Magellan, remember him bringing over that?
Yeah, we talked about that last week in the
Yeah,
podcast.
we couldn't find
we
the
talked about
13
losing the
wrench.
13 millimeter wrench in the heater channel.
Yeah, that was that.
Yeah.
That got me upset.
I saw Ken the other day. He's helping that guy out. He lives near here, restoring that
Yep.
Beetle, and then he's got
Yeah.
a bunch of the buses.
The painted bus
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, I call him the hippie kid.
Yeah.
He's a
which
good-
which is something somebody your age should call somebody like him.
yeah.
For anybody that does not know who we're talking about Painted Bus Artworks.
Yes.
Definitely give him a plug here because he's amazing. His name is Ken, and his entire career is pretty much driving around the country in his Volkswagen microbus and painting other Volkswagen microbuses and murals and advertising and all old school style hand painting.
We did your guest book for your wedding.
Yeah, the guest book for my wedding was a rear engine cover from a early 70s Beetle.
Yeah.
That he painted a mural in the middle of, and all of my friends signed.
And then he wired up
LED lights underneath the license plate
Yeah.
holder so that it lit up the painting they did below it. I'll take a picture of that and post it on the website.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's very cool. And obviously, my wedding is going to have some kind of a car theme at some point to it. Even if it wasn't all a car wedding.
Oh, I forgot about Joey's motorcycle, the Honda he built, the Cafe Racer.
Oh, yeah, that's another one you worked on. Or you almost did a lot of the work on with Joey.
Yeah, we assembled the engine together, and I did the electrical work on it. He come up with the design and all the styling, and then him and his brother did the work. It, come out really, really nice.
Yeah, that bike actually got pretty internet famous, I guess you could call it. If you Google Joe's Lucky 13 Cafe Racer, you'll find like 7 or 8 different articles about that particular motorcycle.
My pictures, actually.
Yeah, all Andrew's pictures a lot of times use without permission, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But they are up there.
Yeah.
And then that was the first sale for the Vintage Imports of New England, actually, was his motorcycle.
Yes.
So that bike is riding around Miami now.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe, he's very talented, and, he's very meticulous when he does things, and,
and then he gets rid of them.
He can be stubborn sometimes, but,
But so can you, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, so what else?
I think that's it.
Yeah, I don't have much else for
about
you.
an hour.
I mean,
We don't go too long.
They'll be. You'll be on again, and we'll delve deeper into, individual stories about whether it be East Coast Aerotech or the North Shore Car Club. You can talk about more if you wanted to, or any of the stuff that you've been involved in cars over the years.
Well, I'm thinking too.
We kind of touched a little bit on everything today.
Yeah, we can talk about technical things we run into and stuff like that. And I don't know.
Yeah, because one of the things that Tony does actually for the North Shore Car Club is he hosts and helps with a lot of. They have the monthly tech days.
Tech meets, yeah.
Yeah, tech meets, where they have a host, is usually somebody in the North Shore Car Club, which is a big New England, or North Shore of Massachusetts, old car club, antique car club. They have a tech meet where they host it at one of the members' garages, and they pick one subject, and they sit down and do a presentation, and Tony's are always the most technical.
Well, I set up PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah, PowerPoint presentations and visuals.
I find videos on YouTube and, show them. And, I try and make it like sometimes a class, sometimes an entertaining thing. And we got one coming up this Sunday, as a matter of fact. We're going to talk about electric cars, Teslas, even though they're not old cars.
Are you bring anything of the early history of electric cars into it? Like the first cars were electric cars?
Yeah.
Well, what we're going to do is the next tech meet after that is at your father and mine place. We're going to host it, and I'm going to find I have a bunch of videos I found. I'm going to show the videos. It's kind of a backwards thing. I wish we could do it the other way around, but we have no choice. But this guy's going to come in. He's going to bring a Tesla. He's going to talk about that, and I'm going to pounce on him with all kinds of questions.
I have a friend. Actually, the podcast has a friend who has a vintage electric car.
Really?
Back in the mid-'70s, there was a company that bought Renault cars.
Yeah.
And they turned them into electric Leopards. So I still had the Le Car, but it was the Leopard, a Leopard, I think is how it was spelled.
Yeah.
It wasn't spelled Leopard, it was spelled something like the LE was, accentuated because of the Le Car part of it. The Leopard. But he has one of those. It doesn't run, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd say he could bring it over for the show. But he's always looking for advice on how to make that thing viable to use now. Because he has the car, and it only has like 17,000 miles on it or something. Mm-hmm. But he's trying to figure out battery technology to use the old motor in the car, but not have 30 miles of range.
Yeah. Well, Ed China did one on Wheeler Dealers.
the Maserati.
Was it a Maserati?
Yeah, but they went to like...
they went to EV West.
EV West,
which
huge money.
Our friend contacted EV West with his Leopard.
Yeah.
And they gave him a quote of the phone of like $39,000. Yeah. And he was like, that's not going to happen.
Well, you want to play, you got to pay.
Yeah, that was a bit much, though. There's got to be some other kind of battery technology you can buy and do yourself to run the old style electric motor on without doing the full EV conversion. Because what they were basically doing was taking it like it was never an electric car
and
putting all their new components into it, which is why it was so expensive.
Yeah.
But that's another topic for another day. I just thought it was interesting to bring that up.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can, talk about later on, different car shows we like and don't like and critique them. And
oh, yeah, absolutely.
YouTube.
We love doing that.
YouTube videos.
We have lots of opinions, as our listeners know.
Yes.
That's why they listen to us.
Yeah. But, we got to be careful. But
no, we don't.
No?
It's our show. Nobody's paying us anything.
Nope.
We can say whatever we want.
No, you can.
If somebody's upset, they just don't listen.
Yeah. Or
And
they
if
make their own.
Your ratings go down. No, just kidding.
And if they do, they do. I will never lie or say a false statement just to keep somebody happy,
Yeah.
Right.
even if they pay the bills.
That's good.
So we're not sellouts here at Auto Off Topic.
No.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Tony. That was good. And like I said, we'll definitely have you back.
Well, thank you for having me. Like I said, I really enjoy having you guys around, and
Well, that's good because we're
like-
not going anywhere.
because even though I'm not doing this stuff a lot myself, you guys are kind of an extension of me. When you do this, I tell you, okay, this is what we got to do, and you guys do it, and I like doing that, and it's very rewarding to me.
And it's rewarding to us because our cars run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Andrew makes fun of me every week on the show for having a bunch of cars that don't run.
Yeah.
It's not Tony's fault. It's my fault for not having enough time to spend in Tony's garage. It's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Not enough time, not enough money.
Yeah, we're trying to get other things accomplished right now too. So,
Unfortunately, real life gets in the way of car life sometimes.
Yeah. Oh,
But we'll get through it all.
they'll get there.
We'll get through it all. But anyway, thank you for coming. Thank you for
Thanks.
having us in the garage. Thank you for moving across the street from my father so that, I have this lifelong friendship with Andrew and you by proxy.
Yep.
And keep helping us out. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Do you have any anything that you want to plug to the audience? I know you're not a social media guy. You don't
No.
have like an Instagram account, but do you have
No.
anything you want to
can-
bring up? Or
I mean, you can find my dad through probably, if you know my Facebook, you can probably find my dad. If you
Right.
if you really want to friend him. I'm
on Facebook.
He'll be
Yep.
friends with you on Facebook.
You can find you can friend me on Facebook.
and he'll answer car questions all day long.
Well, we'll try.
No free advice, though. No free advice.
Well,
So you can follow the show, Auto Off Topic Podcast, on Facebook. You can follow it on Instagram, Auto Off Topic. You can follow me on Instagram, Raced in Anger. You can follow Enzo, who's been very quiet tonight, actually.
Yeah, very quiet.
He is Cuddle Buddy Enzo on Instagram.
He did grab my hand with his paw and scratch it a little earlier.
Oh, he
today.
did?
Yes.
Just wanted attention.
Yeah, that's what it was.
So now he's laying over there like, who? You're talking about me?
My Instagram is TSISS350.
Yep.
Not TSIS350, as it was pronounced on a different podcast in which I asked a question last week. My company, Vintage Imports of New England, has a website, vintageimportsofne.com. Our Instagram is Vintage Imports New England. Our Facebook is the same. And as I've plugged the last few weeks, it's also now available in paperback. My wife wrote her children's book, Yankee the Fish. You can download it via Kindle or on Amazon, or you can buy the paperback version of it for like $8. It's a very cute little kid's
She also
book.
has a novel.
She does have a novel, yes, as well, which is not a kid's book. The adult novel.
I use that term right.
Adult novel?
I think so.
All right. It's not like a dirty adult novel. It's
No.
like an adult novel, like a novel for adults.
Yeah.
She has a kid's book and a book for adults.
Yeah.
So her author name is D.A. Flanagan.
Yes.
With no repeating letters, so Flanagan.
Yep.
And it's Yankee the Fish is the children's book, and Maddox Pike is the adult book.
All right,
So
great.
buy those books on Amazon. You won't
Thanks for
regret it.
listening. Keep your cars analog.